Welcome to the Dirt Life Show with your host, George Hamill.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the episode number 151 of the Dirt Life Show. And we are stoked to have you guys joining us tonight. We have an awesome show. We are going to get into the Dakar recap. Going to be super cool. Can't wait to talk about all the good stuff that happened over there. Man, we got some really cool guests as well. Like I said, it's episode 151 of the Dirt Life Show. It is going to be so cool, man. Can I get a shout out for my boy Nick GR? Yeah, for sure, man. So Jay-Z, thanks for already chiming in. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Caden. So we're going to talk about everything Dakar. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the behind-the-scenes stuff, right? Like, so we see all the stuff on social media. We know what happened at Dakar. We know who won. We know who did good. It'll be pretty cool. And basically, we got the whole Redbull Can-Am factory racing team that's going to come on. Man, we got some of the guys like the team owner, Scott Abraham's going to come on. We got Seth Quintero. You guys all know him. Dennis Zen's his co-driver. And big winner guy, Austin Jones, won the T3 class. So it's going to be cool to talk with him, talk a little bit about Dakar. And then something that's near and dear to my heart, I'm so hyped to have this dude on the show tonight. Skyler Howes, Factory Husqvarna Racing. Man, he put on a show this year at Dakar. So we're going to talk with him as well. I'm Georgie Hamill, your host of the Dirt Life Show. Today we're sitting in IMG Motorsports. We got tons and tons of cars here. Everybody's getting ready for King of the Hammers. Actually, a lot of guys that were in Dakar now are coming out to California for overseas and all that stuff to be able to hang out and go to King of the Hammers. So Skyler just chimed in. We'll get him on the show in just a second here. But let me thank all you guys for watching. You guys are our lifeblood. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. You can always slide into our DMs. Share the show as much as you can. There's a little airplane icon down at the bottom right. So if you're on here, share it so you can have all your homies, everybody get a little bit of love, grow the show for us, have as much fun as we possibly can, asking cool questions about behind-the-scenes stuff. Hi, Annabelle. Let's see here. So thank you again, everybody, for joining. You can always hit us up at The Dirt Life Show on social media, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff, anytime. Thank you very much to all of our sponsors. We have a couple of them that are actually going to join us tonight that are actually partners with the Redbull Can-Am Factory Racing team. So Ryan Gaitis from KMC Wheels, and also Darwin Jaeger from, excuse me, from Motul. So it's going to be really cool to have both of them come on, talk a little bit about their Dakar experiences with the team. Darwin actually got to go over there and hang out for a few days too. So can't wait to talk with those guys. So Motul, thank you very much to those guys. Thank you, Maxxis Tires. We got some cool stuff happening with Maxxis at KOH on Friday. We're going to do a ride with the King. Jeremy McGrath's going to lead a ride out there. Paul Vitale, what's up, dude? Brad Phillip, what's up, guys? Thank you to the guys over at Shock Therapy. If you want to use the code DIRTLIFE on their website, shocktherapist.com, save yourself some money on some steering racks, the whole deal. Thank you to the guys at JL Audio. Give me this sweet hat. But get your car all decked out. They got a cool kit for actually your Can-Am MX-3 too. So JL Audio is really hooking you guys up. Evolution Power Sports. Making Power. Zollinger Racing Products. Thank you to them as well. Vision Canopies and Cryo Heat. All right, so let's just jump straight into the show. We're going to start talking Dakar. I got some questions, but I also want you guys to ask questions too. So if you guys hit us in the comments, let us know what you guys want to talk, what kind of questions you guys have to our guests tonight. All right, so let's get Skyler Howell on here, see what's up with him. Redbull Can-Am Factory team, thank you very much for joining. Skyler, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up? Thanks
Dude.
for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for bringing you and your best friend, your mustache. Appreciate that.
Yeah, dude, it's looking good. Got it curled up, got it torqued.
Hey, so how hard was it to keep that thing like crispy out there in Dakar?
Not that difficult. I don't even put any product in it. It's just naturally trained.
Really?
The problem is the faster you go, it comes directly into my mouth here. So the problem is trying to keep it out of the mouth.
Dude, that's hilarious. Well, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. And then, first of all, I want to congratulate you, man. You put in one hell of a ride, man. Or the ride of a lifetime, I guess we could call it. I don't know how gnarly it is. We'll get to it and start talking about it. But before all of that, like I used to be a dirt bike racer myself. I raced supercross and motocross and stuff like that. But I've never done anything as gnarly as Dakar. But so the first question I had was, how the hell do you even train for that?
It's tough. Like a lot of the background from a lot of the other racers come from motocross and high intensity stuff, which definitely translates over. But me and like most of the Americans that have ever raced the Dakar all come from off-road. Like me, Chris Blaze, Ricky Brabeck, we all have come from off-road background, minus Andrew Short, obviously comes from motocross and supercross background. But I mean, kind of growing up in the desert, especially now in Saudi Arabia, like it feels kind of like home. There's so many areas that look like the Southern California, Southern Nevada, Southern Utah desert and stuff. So honestly, just our background in racing off-road is our biggest base. But for training and all of that kind of stuff, I actually train with a triathlete. So most of the training that I do is a lot of super long distance stuff. And then when I'm in the gym, it's just trying to build as much muscle as possible, and then building that endurance and conditioning base too. So the training off the bike is a lot like a triathlete for me anyways. And then training on the bike is just long days, putting the road book in front of your face as much as possible, and then just riding every single different type of terrain you can possibly find, like dunes down in Glamis or in Sonora, or out in Barstow. As gnarly as it would be on a rally bike, it's actually super great to train. And at my home in St. George is like the same desert as Saudi Arabia, so it's like perfect place to train, just right out my back door.
Dude, you just hit on a bunch of stuff that I'm fond of. So fun fact, I've actually done an Ironman, so I did a bunch of triathlete training and stuff like that. I think it aligns you really, really well with that stuff too, because the most important part of that training part that I think is the recovery part, not necessarily having because you can do the ride, right? Like most people can do that ride, but the recovery part and being able to do it for so many days back to back, that's like, in my book, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, that training and that side of things too is super important, because you have to be able to like put down heater moments too, like in the dunes or in areas where you really have to put down a charge. And then when you get a section that you could, possibly get a break, you have to try and recover in those areas. So, which is the same in a triathlon or anything else. As soon as you get like a little tiny break, you have to try and recover as much as possible in those areas. So yeah, that type of training transfers over really, really well.
Yeah, so you probably got to teach yourself how to breathe and try to like calm down and like really refocus on that stuff. Is that difficult when you have to also concentrate on the navigation portion of it? Because your brain is like, it's not like it's like double tasking. It's like triple, quadruple tasking. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I mean the organization keeps throwing more and more rules at us that we have to focus on too. So there's so much more stuff that we have to do as just beyond riding the bike. So yeah, focusing on your breathing and your mindset and how you're attacking the trail in front of you, and then you have the trail in front of you, and then you have the road book, and then we have a speed limit, and then you have the next day and the marathon stage and all types of other stuff that you have on your brain that you have to like focus on all of it. So it's I don't know, it's a crazy thing, especially to ride a motorcycle. Dakar is crazy no matter what you're in, but on a motorcycle it's just that extra level of challenge, because there's so much you have to be aware of and keep the focus on all the time. So it's insane, but I mean, I think that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, totally. I love that you guys can actually go through and do that. One of the things, I talked to Toby Price, I think it was last year or something. I asked him too, and he's like, once you get the hang of it, you can understand, like when you have your flow and you can kind of see the notes and you kind of have your peripheral vision and all of these things start like kind of, I don't know if you want to call it like syncing up, because you're never really completely focused, but he acted like it was almost second nature once you start getting used to it. Like, does that happen first day? Does that happen midway? Does that happen like right at the end of the rally? Because that seems to me like it would be a work in progress.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, there's always going to be something that catches you out.
Yeah.
Some mistake that might happen. Like it's always going to happen. And that's the beauty of our sport in general, off-road racing in general, is like, it doesn't matter how good you are. There's so much stuff that can and probably will happen, and you have to be able to correct it. But no, for me, like, honestly, I was more nervous for the prologue in the first stage than I was for anything else. Even how close the race got at the end of the race, like, I was more nervous for the start of it than I was the end of it. So it was like, I don't know, after the first couple of days, I found kind of that flow state where you start just really, the mindset is working, you understand what's ahead of you, and you just kind of start clicking off all of those miles. And yeah, it's interesting because there is so much you have to focus on and so much being thrown at you, but it is still possible to try and find that, flow state and kind of get into it. You're clicking with the road book, you're clicking with the bike and the terrain in front of you, and everything's just kind of working. And yeah, those moments, like, is kind of what we are looking for as riders, because that's when you start having the most fun. And this whole rally was, threw everything that it could at us with the weather and all that stuff. But
it really did.
Kind of lucky. We got lucky with the wet dirt too. It's always better to ride in wet dirt. Us on the bikes, like we lucked out in front of, we missed a lot of that. So, but I have fun and I operate. I'm having fun. Yeah, you just have to find that happy medium and just start going with the flow, and the rest will take care of itself. Kind of.
Yeah, like let your body do what it's used to, like your muscle memory and stuff, right? Hey, so Courtney Christine asked the most important question to ask Skyler is Mario or Luigi?
I don't know. I'm tall, which means more Luigi, but Mario's the main character, so I would say Mario.
Yeah. What's your favorite color, red or green?
I grew up.
It seems like your phone's cutting out a little bit. You got decent Wi-Fi or good connection over there?
Yeah, I got full bars Wi-Fi, dude. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds all right. So, like, knowing all that stuff, how do you even manage it? Because one of the main things that I wanted to ask everybody tonight was to see if you train like a triathlete, you have to eat specific things, right? You have to do specific things during the day, like running and stuff. You got the exercise portion covered, but now you have to sleep and you have to eat. Like, so what's the plan over there, like when you go over there? Because you're basically throwing everything that you do on a daily basis out the window, right?
Yeah, we look out as factory racers. We get a camper now. So back in the day, they had to sleep in a tent. They were on their own. Like, the conditions and accommodations just really weren't that nice. But now we have it pretty easy. Like, we got a camper. We have a full team that's typically there before we even show up. So we can stop, hand the bike off, and then focus on recovery. And we are typically finishing early enough in the day that we have enough time to focus on that recovery. So I get off the bike, usually go straight and eat some food, and then we have a team physio, so we can get some physio work as well. And then there's even spin bikes there, so we can focus a little bit more on some different type of cardio and kind of spinning out the legs and getting that lactic acid and stuff out. So they, like, for us as factory riders, we have it pretty good. But yeah, the Malimoto or the original by Motul guys, like, those guys are literally fully on their own. They got to set up their tent, set up their whole camp. They got to work on their bike, then try to eat, and then take a cold shower in the bivouac. And the bivouacs, they don't make it easy on us. Like, you have to walk 5-10 minutes to get to anything. So, I mean, I definitely have it much easier than a lot of the other guys and privateers, but I've also lived that privateer life as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, it definitely throws a wrench into, like, what you're used to, but at the same time, you get into this zone where it's like, this is what you do. You wake up at 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, you eat food, you get geared up, you're on the bike for 10 to 12 hours. You have your rhythm that you go through while you're on the bike. And then as soon as you get off, you just eat, shower, physio, go to sleep, and just take care of it. And the adrenaline kind of keeps you going, but as soon as you come home, that definitely wears off and you hit a major wall.
I was going to say, like, it's probably like you want to just hibernate after you're done just putting your body through torture for, what was it, 14, 18 days?
Yeah, big time.
So with travel and everything, it's got to be pretty crazy too, man. Let's go into like the racing and stuff a little bit. We saw most of the stuff on the live broadcast and on social media, but maybe give us a little bit of a breakdown on like what goes through your head, like on at the beginning of the stages, or like what you're looking forward to. Like some of the kids that are watching, or some of the people that are watching, would give their, left foot to line up next to some of the guys that you were lining up against and competing against, and to be as fast as you. So I would like to see what kind of stuff we can kind of tell them that you see in your mindset when you're going through these races, and what fun you're having, because these kinds of things are so cool to watch from afar.
Yeah, I like to keep a lighter mentality. It's a little bit strange because there's so much on the line for this race. Like, literally our entire year is based around this one single event. And so there's a lot of pressure. You have to be good every single day, and there's so much that like rides on it. So there is a lot of pressure, but at the same time, like there's so much that literally is just up to chance. Like you have 2 weeks of whether or not you have to be good every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And the odds of that happening, you just being perfect, are slim. So you have to be okay with, okay, if a mistake happens, like it just is what it is. Put it behind you, keep going. And if you do well, you're starting next to or in front of guys that are, legends and super fast, or whatever the stage that day might be really tricky, or just some stuff is so crazy. So I don't know. Like I said, I try to keep a lighter mentality as possible. It's just, it just is what it is. Every single day, all you can do is your best. And to put any other type of pressure on yourself other than that is unfair, because you have to look back and just, yep, I gave my best. And every single day I made a decision, which is what I thought was right in the moment. And that's how it goes. Like there's so many small points in that entire race that could have made the difference between a win or a third place.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Like we actually talk about it. We actually talked about it at the first episode of the year here on the Dirt Life Show. Is being a good racer, a professional racer, you have to have good perception to be able to see these things, like your lighter mood, right? So that's your perception. That's the way you do it. And then during the race, you're making a whole bunch of choices. But it sounds like one of the main things that you do is at the end of the day, you're accountable for your actions, and you kind of like do a debrief in your head, and then the next day you're like, fuck, I'm not going to make that same mistake. I'm going to go out and I'm going to nail this and do better this day.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's so much up to chance that same day. You'd be like, oh, well, you made a navigation mistake, even though you were fully focused and on it, and it happens. Like, like I said, it just is what it is. You can only attack every single day with the intention that you're going to try and execute your strategy as best as you can, and that's all you can hope for. And at the end of the race, like, what do? You can't be angry. You can't be upset. You did your best. You did what you thought was right every day, and this is how it turned out. Like, we came to the last day only separated by seconds and a minute. Like, that's so insane to go race for over 45 hours and then come into the last day only a minute and a half behind the win.
Dude, yeah, so let's talk about that. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about is do you guys, being part of the Austrian group, do you guys talk about that same stuff together? Do you kind of like, is everybody having fun together, like enjoying the time? Or when you get to that point, first of all, how the hell was it that close? Like, you could have never planned it like that, right? And then, like, what's the mood like under the tent?
I mean, that last day, the bonus is we're all quite good friends. Like me, Toby, and Kevin, we get along really well. And that's the other bonus too within the team is there's no team orders. It's just whoever wins is the best. Like, yeah, there's always a nervousness to it. Like, they definitely were nervous that we were going to go and take ourselves out because we were pushing so hard. But they literally left it fully up to us. It just comes down to who the best man is going to win. That's it. And which was really cool because then it honestly took the stress off of us, and it kept it more fun because then it came down to just straight up a good old-fashioned race.
Dude, that's so cool. I love that mentality.
It was awesome, and like I said, we're all quite good friends. So start line, finish line, in the bivouac, whatever, we're always joking around with each other and like having a good time about it. Like, there was no it felt like there was no stress. Yeah, the win of the race is on our shoulders, but I mean, at the end of the day, like we all knew what we had to do, and we just had to do our best. And yeah, whoever came to the finish line first was gonna win. So that was the coolest part.
That actually probably makes it so fun for you guys because you guys can all be like, all right, may the best man win. We're gonna like everybody's going hard in the last race for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Dude, that is super cool, man. What was some of the funnest things that that happened? I mean, like, oh, I'm sure that there was a million because you guys were out there for so long. But can you remember anything that was like, I don't know, just a star-studded like thing that's gonna always last in your mind?
I mean, just being that close with two legends and like racing against them and kind of coming to the finish line and sitting there. Literally, Kevin was counting down to the seconds to see whether or not he was going to win, and then he found out he was going to win. That like celebration, that cool moment there was super awesome. And
yeah, because he wasn't thinking he was going to win, right?
Well, it's tough. I mean, it comes down to 12 seconds. He literally had to go 13 seconds faster than Toby in order to get it. So he's sitting there counting down literally to the second on whether or not he's going to win. So it's just like we cross the finish line and you have no idea until Toby crosses. So it was the tense atmosphere there was really interesting. But I mean, the best day I've ever had on a motorcycle in my entire life. I didn't even win the stage, and I wasn't even riding with anyone else. I was riding alone. The stage 3 was like the most incredible. It was like riding through a movie set. It didn't seem real. Riding through these giant canyons and mountains.
Dude, that's so cool.
It was so sick. I just thought to myself, like, I even got a little bit emotional while I was racing. Like, this is insane that I get to do this. Like, this is the most incredible experience. And the fact that I'm here in general is so sick. Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed my time, and I think that's what the results reflected that too. I was just having a blast and keeping it light. I mean, literally, you just can expect your best and nothing else. And so you also have to keep it fun. That's why we started doing this sport in general, is because it's fun.
Honestly, man, like I've already respected you so much as a racer and obviously look up to you for the things that you've done, but just hearing you say that, how you have the respect for understanding we'll call it the gift of your occupation, like that is pretty amazing, dude. That shows what a good human being you are before a dirt bike rider. I love that.
Yeah, well, I just saw a comment pop up that crashing under the heli had that solid no footer that I did
Hey,
the heli and then sunk the front end.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, dude. I wasn't gonna bring it up.
Dude, I'll own it. As soon as I did it, so it's really hilarious. If my buddy Kevin is watching, I did a no footer like 2 days before, just screwing around, and he sent me a comment and he goes, "I'm gonna need more no footers for content." And so I saw this jump coming up. The heli's right there. I'm like, "Oh, dude, this is a perfect no footer jump." Did a solid one, and as soon as I landed and like almost went over the bars, I was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be on TV forever." I'm like, "Oh."
Do you get?
Because it was. I mean, I was having fun. It is what it is. Like, it was super funny, but
You get back to the bivouac, you're like, great. Now I got to check my Instagram to see what the heck's going on.
Well, the funny thing is, nobody had service, and so finally, by the time the rest of the team got service, they were all just like. That's the other thing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, his sponsors are going to be pissed." Like, what? Like, what do you be pissed about? I'm just having fun and just whatever, threw a no footer, and it is what it is. Like, they were all just giving me a bunch of crap for it. They're like, "Oh, nice one, Luigi."
Yeah, it went, and you were like, yeah, I got to accept it. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so funny.
Dude, that is cool, man. So a couple of those things like are pretty memorable. Obviously, that you got a little bit of media coverage for the wrong reason, but then
Yeah.
the second thing that I was going to say is that you got to see some pretty amazing places. Like, what is it like being able to race in a I don't know, a country like that, right? Because that's completely different. I mean, you said you grew up racing in the desert, but it's not the same. Like, I feel like that's a totally different atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, Saudi is just massive. It's so hard to comprehend how huge that country is. And you can race through, yeah, we're in the desert, but the desert there, they have like 20 different deserts, and it's all different kind of terrain. It's the desert all the time, but you can go through mountains, canyons, dunes, like endless dunes, and this rocky canyon that doesn't feel like it will end for freaking 6 hours. It's just like the craziest stuff ever that you would never think would be possible to actually race an off-road vehicle through it. And it's just like that on day 3, I was like, there's no way. Like, this was in USA. This would be a protected area. and no one would be able to come within like 50 miles of this place, and we're riding our dirt bike through it. It's just incredible. It's such a like for I mean, all political reasons aside, it literally is one of the most like beautiful countries that I've raced through. It's just so gnarly that place exists. Like, it's crazy.
Dude, yeah, I think it's super cool. You know what? Actually, I saw a couple pictures of some of our guests, the Red Bull Can-Am factory team. We got a bunch of them coming on a little bit later after you, and they were showing me some pictures in their, I don't know, media arsenal. And some of those pictures, like where the rock sections were, I think it was stage, I don't know, it was early stages or maybe stage 9 or something. But it almost reminded me of like where you live, like Zion area, like where you can see all those massive rock sculptures and stuff. Like, I don't even know how I would be racing through that, because I'd be like, oh my God, squirrel, like that looks so good. Like, I just want to see all this stuff and go explore.
Yeah, it's wild too, because we're in the middle of nowhere, and then that stuff just exists out there. It's like, yeah, you have that thought in your mind, like, dude, I want to come explore this place, but it would take days to get out there and like go explore it. It's just, you're out there in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing around, and it's the most insane place on the planet.
It's really that remote?
Oh, dude, we're out there like barely any like local trails and stuff. But here's the crazy thing is, you're out there in the middle of freaking nowhere, and then all of a sudden there's going to be like some, like, for instance, me, Toby, Beretta, and Pablo were all riding in a group when Beretta crashed into Toby. Toby went over the bars.
Yep.
And he crashed. Beretta's fully knocked out. Toby gets up, comes over. We're like hitting the emergency buttons, checking on him and everything. And then all of a sudden, we're in the middle of the dunes. We feel like we're hundreds of miles away from civilization, and like 4 locals just showed up. We're like, oh, you guys need an ambulance?
Dude, that's wild.
Where did you come from? It's so weird, dude. Crazy.
Yeah, because you're out in the middle of nowhere. I always thought that, like, I'm sure it's way more remote, but like when you're in the middle of Baja and all of a sudden you're like 50 miles like from the nearest anything, and all of a sudden you just see a dude.
Yeah, it's so wild. Same thing.
What about like when you're working with the team and you have all of these different things that are happening? What's like the communication effort that you have back and forth? Like a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff to give to our audiences. It's a big effort. Like, it doesn't matter if you're racing 4 wheels or 2 wheels or big trucks, whatever it is. It takes a lot to get a vehicle or a bike across the finish line. So what's the dynamic with the team? Are you giving them information? Are they giving you information? Like, how does it usually work?
Yeah, we have definitely a debriefing after every single stage to see what happened. Did you have any issues, crashes, whatever might happen? So, like my mechanic Louis, he can tend to it on the bike and make sure everything's proper. You talk to the suspension tech and see if there's any changes that you want to make. Like, there's definitely a lot of preventative and like service stuff that you need to do in order to like make sure you can do your best every single day. So as far as like a factory team goes, they put an incredible amount of effort and the best of the best at it, so you can do your best. Like, that's the saying that me and my mechanic have: you do your best, I do mine. And every single person on the team does 100% their best, and like they put, it's weird because it's a job to them, but like from my point of view, it's not a job. Like they that's literally their biggest passion, is to be there and to make sure that any one of those bikes within the group is going to be the first one to the finish line. Dude, and so like the dynamic is so cool because it's not it's like a family. So everyone just is there because they want to be there, and they're going to put their maximum effort into it.
Dude, you couldn't ask for anything more, right? And I mean, like, even everybody supporting each other. I mean, like, I'm sure, like, if they needed a rag and you got off the bike and you were doing anything, you would give them the rag, or if they needed a 10mm socket.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, it's super cool. Well, is there anything that you would mention? We got to get the Can-Am guys. AJ Jones is going to come on in a second here, but is there anything you would tell any of the little kids that are watching the show that are, look up to you and want to be like Skyler one of these days and go out and race Dakar? What advice would you give them to be able to achieve their goals?
Dakar and rally specifically is difficult because it's definitely not cheap. And I, as a lot of people know, definitely put it all on the line and gave it my maximum and sold every single thing I owned to get to it. So it's tough to get into rally for sure, but if you have a dream, I'm not here because I was just lights out the fastest. I'm here because I didn't give up. And I had a dream, and I knew I was capable of that dream, and I just did I put all my cards in. I went all in, and it, never in my life, I don't want to look back and say, what if? What if I did better? What if I tried harder? What if? I want to look back on my life and be like, I gave it my all. I did 100% what I could have done, and that's all you can ask for yourself. And I want to be happy with the life that I live, and I want to enjoy every part of it. So I think that's the biggest advice and best advice is to just focus on making sure that, you're doing it for yourself. And if you know you're capable of it and this is what you want, then just don't give up. If it takes you 10 years to get there and that's what you want to do, then just put your effort into it. I mean, I got fortunate to meet some really awesome people that helped me out along the way, and I'm sure you will too. Like, there's people out there that want to help dedicated people and stuff, and it's just, I don't know. My dream was always to just race Dakar, and then that happened, and now I wanted to, be in the top 5. That happened. Now I want to be on the podium. That happened. Now I want to win this thing. Like, if it takes me another 5 years to win it, like, I'm gonna put my effort into it, and I am gonna enjoy every single step of that process. Dude,
I love that, man. I've always been a big fan of yours since day one, but understanding the human aspect of the way that you look at life really means a lot. And I'm gonna say, just the never give up attitude, work hard, and your goals will come. That's really, really good advice, man. Hey, congratulations on your podium finish at Dakar. It's got to feel good. I know that you want the win, but that'll come soon, dude. So keep kicking ass, bud.
Cool. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate you.
You got it, man. Hey, and a little side note, one of these days we're going to talk about your whole story, so you're going to have to spend some serious time with our audience. It'll be rad.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks, homie. We'll see you later, Skyler.
See ya.
Rad to see, to hear that story with Skyler. It's pretty cool to understand the mentality of all these racers. Like, you can't really beat the willpower and the will to succeed that these guys have, especially like Skyler. We're going to get AJ Jones on here in just a second. We're going to talk with, let's see if we can get Ryan Gaitis from KMC Wheels on here real quick. We'll talk a little bit about behind the scenes and what it takes to prepare and get ready from a sponsor or a team standpoint. Ryan Gaitis, what's up, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing awesome, dude. So we're going to wait to get AJ on here, and we'll talk to both of you guys. But in the meantime, when we wait for him, I had a couple questions about kind of behind-the-scenes stuff on how the teams operate and a little bit of logistics stuff. When you're supporting a team like South Racing, Can-Am, and Red Bull, what kind of stuff do you have to do, and how much planning does it take to be able to get them the stuff that they need to successfully cross the finish line at Dakar? I mean, it's so gnarly.
Man, it was email chain after email chain with their team principal and Red Bull just trying to get the logistics on when to get the wheels to them by. And it was no feat shipping 3 pallets of wheels, across the freaking country, across the world to get there in about, I think it took 6 days to get there total.
Dude, that's bananas, man. And then the amount of stuff that they have to have is backup and stuff. The Can-Am team, the South Racing Can-Am team has a lot of drivers and a lot of resources that they need to be accommodated. So I'm stoked that they had you guys on board.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to be a part of that.
All right, let's give a proper introduction. So the 2020 T3 Dakar winner, AJ Jones. What's up, man, dude?
Hey, what's going on?
Dude, first and foremost, congratulations. That is no small feat to come across the finish line, period. And to come across the finish line first, dude, kudos to you. How was it?
Thank you, man. Yeah, it was a crazy one this year. Definitely the toughest Dakar that I've ever done. That was my 4th one. So that was the longest for sure. 15 days, 14 of actual stages, 1 prologue. But yeah, dude, with the weather and just everything that they threw at us this year, I think they're making it harder and harder every year, and they have succeeded because it was gnarly this year.
Yeah, actually, Gaitis, that's actually something to bring up, right? It's like they're just trying to make it so these vehicles don't come across the finish line. You got to build these things like the wheels have to be invincible these days.
Pretty much. That's why we did our forged wheels on those guys for them. There's a lot of hidden stuff under the sand, I bet.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh, dude, speaking of sand, AJ, before we start getting into some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, how the hell did you guys drive when the cars filled up on the inside with all that sand?
Dude, And yeah, that day got a little crazy. So yeah, towards the end of the stage there, with about probably 75 kilometers to go or something, I felt like every single time that we'd break and we'd kind of dig in a little bit, I could feel it hitting me in the feet. I'm like trying to look down, and I'm like, all right, it's not that bad. It's kind of normal. And then after like the 30th time, my navigator Gustavo was like, "Hey, mine's filling up pretty bad over here." And then by the end of the stage, I was sitting there and I'm trying to shovel with one leg and like go like this, so I had at least a little bit of like room for the gas and the brake. And yeah, it filled up to the point where, I mean, you guys saw the video. I couldn't even press the gas, and I mean, I don't know how much it weighed, but it had to weigh a lot because it was killing our speed. So didn't have to deal with it for that long, only about the last probably 50 kilometers when it was really, really bad. But yeah, that was so crazy.
What'd you say?
Oh yeah,
probably felt like an eternity.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Dude, that's freaking nuts. Like, when I saw that, I was like, holy cow, that's crazy. We had a couple comments come in. AJ says, congratulations, appreciate you always using your pass alert, and that was from Racing Ace #1. So maybe they were out there too.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I really appreciate everybody. Everyone's been super cool. Everyone's been super nice, and I really appreciate all the support that I've been getting from back home and just from everybody. So thank you guys.
Some more support. Met you at San Diego Supercross, Steve Hernandez. It's super laid back, dude. It's super cool to see, man. Like, you're obviously growing your professional career, and you have good people behind you now. We're going to bring on some of the guys from the whole team. Scott Abraham is going to come on a little bit later. Seth Quintero and Dennis Zenz, all drivers on your team. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was behind the scenes stuff. Like, you did a fantastic job during the races, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to make you guys to the top level, right? Like, so what's some of the stuff that you guys do in the pits as the team, or maybe you personally, to make sure that you're on point every day?
I mean, it's crazy. So Scott Abraham, the owner and team principal of Can-Am, of our team, a Red Bull Factory Can-Am team. He puts so much into it. There's so many people that they're giving it their all. I heard a little bit of Skyler talking, and I mean, I'm just the guy. I always like to tell him, I'm just the guy that sits in the driver's seat and holds the wheel and pushes the pedals. I mean, there's a whole team of people that make this happen, and those guys, I've never seen anybody work longer hours and work harder. I mean, those guys, my mechanics this year, the logistics guys, my engineer. Those guys are around the clock, always making sure that everything is top shape every single day. So, I mean, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and you only see, a little bit of the racing and stuff. So it's crazy everything that they do to make us able to do what we do.
Yeah, it's almost like at the end of the day, you just want to give everybody a hug because you're so appreciative of it, right?
That's what I always like. I mean, I try to be as nice to them as possible, and I try to tell them I appreciate them so much, but they're always so tired. I don't know if they even hear it, but because they've been working so hard. But yeah, man, the entire team, they showed out this race and really every race, but especially at this Dakar, like in the conditions that we were in. I mean, the bivouacs were so gnarly, mudded, and they're running around all night working on those cars. So, huge shout out to all the team and everybody involved for that, for sure.
Yeah, it's just so cool to see all the teamwork. Ryan Gaitis, unfortunately, you've been the victim of no sleep lately, having a newborn baby. So congratulations. We appreciate you taking the time away from the wife and the newborn. Does that mean that you're training to have no sleep to go to Dakar with AJ next year?
I'm not afraid to mount a bead locker too.
I do think it's cool, and that's why I wanted to talk with you a little bit too, Ryan, is because AJ mentioned all the teamwork and how all of these things happen. We all think about how everybody over there is working. We think about all the behind-the-scenes stuff. It really does, an army to get those cars across the finish line. When you see AJ cross the finish line first, you probably couldn't be more happy.
Oh, I know. I had a team chat with Arnaud, the gentleman at Red Bull, and he was WhatsApping me till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just giving me updates. So even though we were halfway across the world, I felt like I was there. But I mean, it was biting bullets between him and Seth, battling back and forth. So it's pretty cool to see all that.
Yeah, this year's Dakar was pretty close. Like with all of the, like Skyler was saying, AJ, like there was so many different weather conditions, track conditions. I mean, just everything that you could get thrown at you, like Skyler said, really was thrown at you. And you guys were so close at the end. I mean, that's got to feel pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this class, the T3 class, there was a lot of heavy hitters this year for sure, and there was a lot of people that could have came away with the win. So I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be close the entire time. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It makes it more fun, when everybody's at the top of their game like that.
How do you strategize then? Because you have so much, like so many days to do it. Does your strategy change on a daily basis?
I mean, so we have a plan coming into it. Me and my navigator Gustavo, we kind of map out what we want to do, what days and stuff like that. Obviously, it changes according to kind of how the race shakes out, but for the most part, we just kind of stick to our plan. We talk a lot with our engineers. A lot, he's kind of like a race strategist as well. So we talk a lot with our engineer. Really, just try to make a plan for every single day that's based on our original plan, and just try to keep it all smooth and bring everything to the finish the way we want every single day.
Yeah, that's super cool. Did you have any of your family over there? I thought I saw a picture. Your dad was over there hanging out too.
Yeah, my pops came over. It's like vacation for him. He likes to come out, grill some chicken. Always is, has pristine motorhome accommodations at all times when I get out. So, yeah, it's nice having him over and to be able to win and share it with him and him be there and stuff like that. As soon as I cross the finish line, I see him over there, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool, man. Especially like growing up in a kid in the dirt, you always have your dad there with you, so it's got to be meaningful when you reach that level, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just crazy how things change. Like a couple years ago, I definitely did not see myself doing this, and I definitely didn't see myself, even if I was over there winning this. So, to be able to share like these moments with him and like a big one like this, like winning 2 Dakars in a row. I mean, it's pretty rad.
Yeah, that's a humble thing to say, but you got to pat yourself on the back too, man, because it takes an army and it also takes a lot of skill to be able to do that. So you did a really good job. When you go through that many days of racing, I'm gonna ask you kind of the same thing I asked Skyler, and I'll follow it up by what did you eat and where did you sleep? But what were some of the favorite points during the race? Because he was saying like, dude, you're just in these beautiful areas of a country out in the middle of nowhere, like. That to me is awesome, but you probably have a different perspective.
For sure. I mean, yeah, like kind of like you were saying, like it almost looks like parts of Utah. Like some places are crazy nice, like rock formations, really pretty rocks, and like really like a nice desert. And then like when we were in the empty quarter, it was insane. Like the amount of dunes, and there's nothing out there. There'd be a gas station like every once in a while, but other than that, there's literally nothing out there. Like dunes taller than buildings as far as you could possibly see. So that was definitely cool.
Dude, that is wild. Could you imagine, Gaius? Because like we think Glamis is big, but like Glamis is probably like the mini dunes out there.
Olds is probably the smallest hill there, which is great.
Yeah.
Dude, it puts it in perspective though. Hey, so do you guys like when you're out there? Do you pass like camels and like how is it with like the local traffic and stuff? Because that's wild, dude.
Yeah, all the time. So usually, like, I mean, there's wild camels that are out there all the time, but then you think that some are wild, and then you see like their feet are tied together, so they tie their front and their back legs together so they can't bolt off. And then you'll see a dude out there just walking around, like leading all of them, basically. So it's wild, and they're big, man. Like you would think, like obviously they're big, but when you're sitting there driving near them, and they're not scared at all, so like you can come super close to them, and if you hit one of those things, if you end up smoking one, it is going to be a disaster. So like it's pretty sketch.
AJ, did you guys ever have any battles with those big semis out there or no?
Not so much this year. We were.
Oh, the trash trucks?
Yeah,
dude.
Those things are crazy, and they're fast, dude. Like on some straightaways, they're like blast us, and like you're just like you can feel the car like shake around because they're so heavy and they're so big when they come by. But yeah, we were messing around with a couple of them, but this year I did a pretty good job of staying away from them for the most part. I was kind of in a different pack every day than them, so thank God for that, because those things, it gets pretty hairy whenever you're around them.
Hey, so fun fact to both of you guys, my favorite class out there is those big trucks just because I want to get in one. So I see 3 guys on the screen right now that could probably handle the job. So AJ, next time you're over there, just start passing out business cards and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, only if I drive.
Yeah, perfect. I'll sit in there, dude. I'll sit in the back. I don't even care. I just want to get a ride.
Navigator. I don't care.
Those things are pretty sick, Gaius. You'd have to make some pretty big wheels, though, to fit on there.
Yeah. No, I want to go. I want to try to go next year. It looks like a lot of fun. My buddy Darwin at Motul went, and I was just texting him like crazy, like major FOMO when he was out there. I was so jealous.
Hey, so don't watch the end of the show because Darwin's going to be talking about how good of a time he had out there.
I'm gonna block him. It's all right.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so like, what kind of stuff do you have a program that you eat and like eat certain stuff, AJ, when you're out there, or like what's the? Because I know that they feed you good. Scott has a really good program that he operates.
Right. Yeah, so we were spoiled this year. Scott had, he had full catering set up, so that was really nice. That's kind of a game changer when you're only eating like once every, 14 hours or so, like that. So Scott had catering. That was rad. Dakar, it's rough and it's hard out there, but being with a team like how Scott has everything set up, I mean, it's top of the line. It's as good as it can possibly get. So I'm really grateful to drive for them for sure.
Yeah, I actually looked. I was telling Skyler, I looked through some of the media stuff and some of the pictures. Honestly, when I saw the freaking all of the catering stuff that he had, I was like, dude, this looks like better than what I cook at home.
Yeah. No, yeah, we were dialed this year as far as accommodations go when we were out, or like out of the car. So yeah, you just try to eat as much as possible, try to get as much sleep as possible. Sleep is really the crazy thing because I mean, you're going to sleep at like 9 o'clock at night because you got to wake up so early and you have such a big day and there's not really too much going on at the end of the day and you're like, well, I might as well catch as much sleep as I possibly can.
Yeah, dude, that's got to be crazy, especially because you're already on a plane all the way across the world the couple days before. It's wild, man. So when you're going through the race and stuff, and I don't know how to ask this question, but when you're going through the race, how do you keep that focus? Because you obviously have Gustavo sitting next to you. He's a fantastic navigator. He helps you immensely. But you're in the car for so long, and you have what's called liaison stages before and after sometimes, or both times, and those are really long too. I mean, most people, when they're driving down a freeway, they can last a few hours. They got to take a break, whatever it is. Like, the mental focus has to be so insanely good when you're there. How do you keep that going?
Yeah, I would say honestly, other than race car driving, especially rally raid like this, it's more mental. So like that mental focus, because if you lose focus for 1 second, you're either gonna wad or you're gonna clip a corner off or a tire or something like that. So I mean, to stay that focused for that many miles a day, it's super hard. That's one of the harder parts of it. And then when you get on the liaisons, it's crazy. We had some killer liaisons this year. Some were heavy. And especially with all the rain and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes we're on liaison for 6 hours a day after we just ran the stage all day.
Dude, that's so wild to me. Like, guys, imagine spending that much time in a race car. You know what I mean? Like, it's just phenomenal, right?
Where's the cooler?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Do you guys have snacks and stuff inside the car?
Yeah. We always have, some stuff here and there, just kind of whatever we can grab and throw into our door bags. We eat a lot of like cashews and nuts and stuff like that, a couple apples here and there, but really that's about it. I mean,
dude, the accommodations from Redbull seemed so unreal, seeing those big, like almost containers that opened up. Those things were so sick that they had for you guys.
Yeah, those things were dialed. The expandables. Yeah. So like they're basically just like huge lounges like that, where that's where like everybody sits down and eats at night. It's where all the coffee makers are, which they're constantly getting used. So those things came in clutch.
Oh, we had Park City Adventure Dual Sport actually asked. They asked basically if you wear catheters. Everybody wears catheters, man. Like it's just the way it goes. Just like desert racing in the United States, it's all the same stuff. Because you can't get out of the car, you got to keep going as fast as you can to win. one of the things that I was going to ask AJ is, like, during those liaison stages, it looked like when I saw something on social media, like you're actually in traffic with the main flow of traffic.
Yeah, I mean we're just out there on the road. Yeah, we're just a normal car. So sometimes, like, when you're out, like, generally we're out in the middle of nowhere, so that's not a huge deal. But sometimes, we do have to go into towns every once in a while and get to the next bivouac. Maybe they'll put one, like, they usually put them at, like, old airports and stuff where there's no room.
But that's wild, dude. Guys, could you imagine driving a race car around a totally different country, just cruising the streets?
That would be so much fun.
Hey,
it looks cold as hell for you guys at a lot of those stages, so that's the only.
Yeah, it was freezing cold, but like on the liaisons, like, dude, sometimes we'll come up to a roundabout and it gets sketchy. Like, a lot of in the United States, we drive good. Okay, I don't care who says what, but we drive well. Some places it is sketchy. So like, and you're driving a race car, so everybody of course wants to stop and take a picture. Everybody wants to drive right next to you and get as close as they possibly can. So yeah, that's one of it's fun, but at the same time, I mean, at that point when you're in the car for that long and you're getting to the point where you're almost done, like in town or something like that, you just want to get to the next bivouac and get out so bad. So.
And you have 696 pounds of sand in the floorboard.
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
Dude, that's so crazy. I mean, like, just thinking about all of the stuff that you guys experience in that, it's a 14-day race, right? But just thinking about how much you guys experience, even just in the plane flights and travel, dude, to me, like, I just get a smile on my face because the opportunity that you guys have and the cool factor of it is just so amazing, man. Like, you have to be, I don't know, you have to pinch yourself, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm super lucky to be able to do this. Obviously, with the whole team and everybody that supports, really lucky to have everybody in my corner helping me out. But yeah, I mean, we get to call this our job. Like, that's so rad. I mean, you can't ask for anything better. So really lucky to be able to do this, and to be able to do it at a high level is just, icing on the cake. So.
Hey, so Gaius, I think you probably have the same question in your head. Did you have any sketchy moments, AJ?
I mean, unfortunately, like, not so many. Well, fortunately, let's not get anything wrong. But like, nothing super gnarly this year. You usually have a couple of holy shit moments, but this year it was pretty clean for us. I mean, we wanted to keep it that way. That was kind of our idea. It was just, let's be really clean every day. Let's bring the car like back in one piece, make as little work for the mechanics as possible. So, I mean, we were just cruising at a nice pace the entire time. Obviously, we had to pick it up and push sometimes, but nothing really, really too sketchy. I would say the sketchiest thing was we almost flew down a couple of dunes because, like, just on sheer drops, but kind of expect that, kind of used to that by now. So, I mean, I'm just like, whoa, that was almost a huge drop.
I saw a bunch of people posting.
What's that, the river?
Isn't there a gnarly water crossing where the big trucks, the trash trucks barely made it through, and like Can-Am actually did look like one on the side?
Yeah, so those cars were getting washed away and stuff like that. So I went through there probably, a couple minutes before, because I started more in the front that day. It was there when I went through. It was there, and there was tons of standing water everywhere and stuff. We were hydroplaning all over the place, and like Gustavo was like, "Whoa, keep it straight." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm a passenger, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you." So like when I went through there, it was gnarly, but it wasn't to the point where like then I got on the liaison after that day, and I'm sitting there looking at my phone, like at the videos that were coming out, and I'm like, oh no way, that's what that turned into. And I saw cars getting washed away down a river. My buddy JP, Chaleco's co-driver, literally getting out with a tow rope and going for a swim. And I was so lucky that I didn't have to go like through the gnarly part. But when I went through, I just blasted it. We got through, and we were like, good, all right. And then just went.
Dude, thank goodness you got there at that time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I won that day, so so I'm super stoked.
Yeah, you weren't super wet. Like, dude, he must have been an iceberg after taking that. Let's see, Andrew JPEG or whatever. He says, "Is that AJ Jones? Congrats, brother."
Oh, my man, Andrew. What's up, bro?
It is super cool to see, man. And then obviously, you know, you and Skyler being American, obviously Seth, it's really cool to see, like, especially for us American fans, you guys are bringing a whole new light to Dakar. Obviously, Casey Curry, Ricky Brabeck, all of these guys, right? But it's really, really neat to see because the first time that you went out there compared to the way it is now, it's massive.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's picked up so much, even within the last 4 years that I've done. You got dudes like they've done 20 Dakars and like 10 Dakars, stuff like that. So, I mean, I can't even imagine like what it's been like for them. But even in the last 4 years, it's gained so much popularity. Really, in the United States, it's picked up so much. So it's awesome to see. A lot more people are asking me about it. A lot more people understand what I go and do in Saudi Arabia for a month every January now. So that kind of helps with explaining why I'm gone. So yeah, I mean, just even in the country, I mean, when we first got there 4 years ago, there was, you know, like they were kind of like, what are you guys all doing here? There's some type of a race, like that kind of thing, like the locals and stuff. And now, like, it's really picked up quite a bit and gained a lot in popularity. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah, I think it is. And you know, you're a humble guy. Skylar's a humble guy. But you guys are doing a good job representing us, man. So I appreciate that because you guys are holding a lot of weight on your shoulders when you go over there because you're not just representing yourselves and the team. You're representing a whole nation, right? So I think it's pretty cool that you guys can do that and represent us well by winning. So kudos to you for doing that. Excuse me. You got any more questions for AJ? Because I'm going to ask him to throw a shout out.
No, I was just saying congrats, man. Glad we were able to join that team last minute, and it's going to be a fun year. So.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys, man. Everything was great as far as, you know, wheels go. So thank you guys, and, you know, it feels good to have a company like you guys on my back. So I appreciate it.
Hey, we had a question come in from, I don't know, PHLIK. Says, how's the visibility versus the races in the U.S.? Do you have any idea about that, or could you answer that, Guidus, either of you guys?
What was the question?
Kind of like, I guess, the visibility in the media compared to U.S. Like, maybe let's just use, I don't know, a big race in the U.S., like a Best in the Desert race compared to one of those races or something. I don't really understand the full details of it, but there's...
Yeah.
A boatload of media, I know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. The amount of coverage that Dakar gets is absolutely insane. And it's not only, you know, it gets broadcast in so many countries. My media guy, he was saying that, like, I mean, there's 195 countries that, you know, they at least, you know, put it on their TV, on their local, you know, their news coverings and stuff like that. So the amount of media that we have to do, that's a huge part, too, that, I mean, I guess you guys see it's not quite behind the scenes, but it's such a huge part. I mean, when we were at rest day, we didn't rest at all. I mean, you get 1 day to chill and do nothing, and we didn't rest at all because, I mean, we're constantly doing stuff. We had this media drop of this media drop of this appearance over here like that.
Photo shoot.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we did so much media, and the amount of cameras that are out there, the amount of people that are broadcasting this all over the place, people flying out from basically every country with, you know, their media stuff and covering the event for a company or something like that. It's insane. So I would say as far as that goes, I mean, it really doesn't compare to any other races that I've done. You'll see some stuff here and there about some America races or, you know, down in Baja and stuff, but the amount of media over there, it's insane. And so many people in so many different languages asking you so many questions. It's tough.
Yeah, and I think one thing to make light of here too is that there's not really the same type of racing like the rally raid racings like Dakar in the United States. It's a lot different. The terrains aren't like close together like where you're at, and it's just a little bit more separated or diverse, right? They have different racing leagues and stuff. So for you guys to be able to attack all that stuff in 14 days is just phenomenal. It's just a one-of-a-kind event.
Yeah, definitely. It's really unique, and it's hard, man. Like it's tough. I like the idea of it though. I'm super into like rally raid, the format of it. You know, the way it works, how stage racing basically. I like it a lot. So I think that it should be more popular in the United States. We have the room.
Yeah, exactly. What'd you say, Guidus?
I said it's getting there, it seems like, with all the traction with all the U.S. racers. So it definitely seems like it's gaining traction.
Yeah, totally. UTV El Paso, West Texas asked, when's your next race, AJ? That was a question I was going to ask, so he beat me to it.
Yeah. I'll be at King of the Hammers this week. this weekend, excuse me. I'm cruising out on Thursday. I'm going to pre-run for a couple days, and then I'm going to race a desert race this weekend.
Dude, that's going to be pretty cool, man. What kind of car are you going to be racing in the desert? You guys have a purpose-built one, or are you guys going to use something that you guys have already driven?
I'll be in the South Racing Can-Am, the same one, basically the same one as I just raced at Dakar. It'll be pretty close to it. You know, there's a couple
things that.
What?
Yeah.
What'd you say, guys?
It's going to turn some heads out there. It's going to look really cool.
Dude, I can't wait to see it. You know what's cool, though, is like, AJ, you can vouch for this because you have been in trucks with your dad and stuff like that. It's rad to see UTVs come this far and be so universal. I mean, like, you can use them in so many different racings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've taken, like, this year at the 1,000, I raced, basically an exact copy of my Dakar car at the 1,000. So, you can do so many different things. Redbull's got tons of events this year, all those scramble series, like the ice scramble and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the amount of things that you're able to do with these UTVs, it's amazing.
Dude, it really is cool, man. Hey, so I just want to say congratulations. First of all, being a two-time Dakar winner, that doesn't come easy, man. You put in a lot of work to be able to get to this point. You're a fantastic racer. The more and more I get to know you, the more and more I see what a good human being you are. So keep doing what you're doing, man. And I know you got a lot of people that you want to thank. So throw some shouts outs, and then we're going to get your buddies Dennis Zenz and Seth Quintero on.
For sure. First and foremost, as I already said, shout out to the team. Anybody from the entire South Racing squad that's watching this, you guys make the ship go. So shout out to you guys. Big shout out to my fiance at home where she can probably hear me. She's in the other room right there. So shout out to Annalise. And, my parents, obviously my dad, he's out there with me. So that's nice to have him out there supporting me. My mom at home, she's supporting, telling all her friends about it, so it's making the local Facebook.
Yeah.
And so I mean, just really everyone who supports, all my friends, family, everyone who's supporting me and stuff like that, I feel it. I really do, and I think about it when we're having not the best time out there. I think about it, and I want to make everybody proud and do my best. So thank you, everybody.
Dude, yeah, that's super cool, AJ. Well, you're doing a fantastic job. Guidus, I don't know if you got to go and get back to the newborn, but we're going to get Dennis Zenz and Seth Quintero on. Like I said, congratulations, AJ. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. This was rad.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. We'll talk to you soon.
Sweet. Sounds good. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Later.
All right, so we're going to get Dennis Zenz and Seth Quintero, also competitors in the T3 class at the Dakar Rally. And, man, just battling AJ and Gustavo just down to the wire, man. It's so cool to see the UTVs come to, just be this competitive, man, in such a massive form of racing. So we'll get these guys on whenever they can join. Yeah, Guidus needs a Red Bull. Guidus always needs a Red Bull, man. So he's a busy guy, man, and with a newborn, too. I just think it's really cool, man. I really, really do. I don't even know what to say. Like, seeing AJ just, do so well over there means the world to me, especially coming from Arizona and, just being such a great guy. All right, so let's see if we can get Seth and Dennis on here. While we get these guys on, if you guys have any questions, please throw them out and let us know what you guys want us to ask to the guys when they do come on. I have a couple questions for these dudes. The sleeping part of it is so crazy to me, man, and then obviously eating. What's up, Brian? How are you? Bryant Fisher, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Looks like maybe Seth Quintero and Dennis Zenz. What's up, boys?
What is up? I'm actually en route to the airport right now to go pick up Dennis.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, it's just super cool to see that you guys are coming to hang out again. Are you? Do you need to get off the phone, or you go okay?
No, I'm all good.
Okay, cool. There he is. Look at him. So no asking Dennis questions. We're just going to let him listen right now. And then when he gets off the plane, he'll be able to talk. That's funny. Usually Dennis is the one talking because he has to tell you where to go. Now he can't say anything because he's on a plane trying to be quiet.
Exactly.
Dude, that's hilarious. So Dennis coming to visit to go to KOH or what, Seth?
Yeah, Dennis is gonna be out here. We're gonna be at KOH with the whole South Racing Red Bull team. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Dennis has never been to America, so I'm looking forward to showing him what it's all about. The racing down here, kind of the differences between rally racing and this. So no, I'm stoked. It's gonna be a good time.
Dude, it's kind of cool because you went to his house across the way, and now he's coming to your house.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, me and this guy have over the past 2 years have really traveled the world together and never really gotten to see meet each other's families or friends or anything like that. So it's gonna be cool to get him here and get everybody to meet him, everybody back home that supports him, and then see who's all stoked. So hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And so, are you guys gonna do anything at King of the Hammers, like in behind the wheel, or are you guys just gonna go out and support the boys?
Yeah, no. So we'll be racing the desert race, same as AJ. Gonna be racing basically the same exact car that I raced at Dakar this year, with a few minor changes like suspension. Really is all it is. Suspension and fueling is really all they're gonna add to that car, and it'll be good.
Dude, that's gonna be pretty cool, man. You haven't done KOH before, have you?
No, I haven't. I've pre-ran it one time with Mitch Guthrie going through the rocks when we were out there doing the one-shot video forever ago, which was rad. I'm not a big rock guy, I will say. I'm not a huge fan of the rocks, so I'm glad we're doing the desert race and not the rock race. But no, I'm looking forward to it big time.
Dude, it'll be cool for Dennis to get his feet wet doing that too, right? It'll be neat because you'll be able to kind of give him a little bit of tips now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be able to show him, the cars that we race, in Europe don't have the most travel or kind of, more like rally cars, and then you come here and we got a lot more speed, a lot of restrictor, a lot more travel, and it's gonna be a wild ride. He's never really experienced anything like it. He was supposed to come down a while ago, I believe, with I forget what he's gonna do. He's gonna do something in the Baja 1000, I believe it was, but no, it'll be good to show him what America's all about.
Dude, you're not looking at the screen because you're driving, but your mom's already trying to take over. She said your mom has fantastic nails.
Great. No, she did KOH with Sarah Price 3 years ago. She's the only Quintero that's done it so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She co-piloted with Sarah Price 2000. I'm gonna say it might have been 2020 or 2019, something like that. So yeah, my mom's done it before I did.
Oh, okay. So I misread the message, dude. That's crazy. So she's got one up on you and Pops.
Yeah, she's got a one-up big time on me. She'll never let me live it down either. She's like, always, whenever I talk about this race, and things I've already done it. I've already done this. I'm like, all right, mom. I
mean, yeah, in 2020, she said it. Well, kudos to you. I didn't know that. Amy's got fun facts all over the place.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to talking about some stuff about Dakar. So one of the things that I was I saw a picture of you kind of just sitting down next to a tent. What is it like sleeping out there, dude? It's wild, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the sleeping situations, we're super blessed and fortunate to be with the whole South Racing team and the Red Bull team to where, we're sleeping in little campers, which is really nice to be able to, get out of the weather, be in there. The guys that are in the tents for the whole entire rally are insane. I don't know how they get sleep, especially with the weather this year. So mad props to those guys. But yeah, we for the marathon days we were doing a tent. Dennis and I were supposed to share a tent that night, but he went and found a second tent, so we didn't have to share anything. So it would have been a lot worse, but I'm glad he went and found that tent because that two-person tent was maybe two-person tent for 2 5-year-olds, but definitely not 2 adults.
Dude, Dennis coming in clutch with going and searching for a separate tent, dude. That's sweet.
Super fun.
Hey, we were talking to AJ and Skyler both, and they were saying how basically Dakar just threw every single thing that it could to you guys this year.
Yeah, this year was, I've only done 3 Dakars now, but I believe that this was for sure one of the hardest Dakars that we've seen, at least in my couple of years. The days were ridiculously long, 2 more stages than it was last year. I know there's been longer Dakars, but I think with the liaisons and the weather and the stage times and everything like that, this is probably one of the hardest.
Dude, yeah, it's wild. And even what AJ was saying, timing came into effect. When he went through that water crossing, I don't remember what stage it was on, but he beat the flowing river, the flash flood. And then how far were you guys either ahead or behind him? Because, dude, it looks so gnarly.
Yeah, so we came in probably 3 or 4 minutes right in front of him. We weren't far in front of him. But yeah, I got super lucky not having to go through that gnarly of a water crossing. The flash flood was pretty crazy for us. I think we hit it pretty hard on the lake bed, but we kind of missed it on the river, fortunately. And we got there, and it really was like, all right, well, don't lift, or else it's gonna be really bad. Yeah, I mean, as we've seen. So yeah, that was a wild ride for sure.
Dude, it looked pretty crazy, man. What was some of the coolest things? Well, actually, let's ask what was some of the gnarliest things. I actually wanted to ask Dennis this question. I don't know if he'll be off the plane by the time, but what was some of the gnarliest things that you guys experienced like during this year's rally? Because it was completely different than last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Just like we've gone through so much in that race, that it's hard to bring one back where it was the gnarliest. I mean, that whole race.
Yeah, I guess that's true because there's just so many things that happen. Like I know I was talking to Skyler about this too. Is like you don't just focus on 2 things; you're focusing on 20 things, right? And then Dennis is focusing on his 20 things. Like there's so much going on that it's almost probably hard to remember some of the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my friends, like whenever I get back, or my family, they'll ask like, "Hey, how'd this go? How'd that go?" And it's hard to remember those little things unless somebody brings it up. It's like once somebody clicks that in your brain, that some of the gnarly stuff was probably just the weather. The weather was so blinding, so like at a snap of a finger that what was going to happen, that it's hard to prepare for it. We could start the stage when it's 80 degrees, and then by the time we're done, it's 25 degrees outside or 35 degrees outside and pouring rain. So it's hard to kind of pick what you're going to do with the weather. So I think the weather was probably one of the gnarly parts for us.
Yeah, actually, that's true because it's like just you have zero idea what's going to happen, right? You're just like hoping for the best, expecting the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, I'm not back now.
Dennis is free.
Dennis is free.
This guy gave me chicken McNuggets. He saved my life tonight.
There you go, dude. Teamwork makes the dream work. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, man. Thank you.
So
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, you too, Dennis. Hey, first of all, congratulations to both of you. I couldn't give you the proper introduction before, but Dennis Zenz and Seth Quintero both doing a fantastic job at the Dakar Rally again this year. Dennis, give me a little bit of a rundown on how much it was different than last year's event.
Well, actually, it has been 2 days longer, and it was like really tough, especially the first week. They really wanted to kill us, and I think they did. So it was a tough one. And I mean, okay, especially the second week, we went into the empty quarter, which was almost just dunes forever. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was a tough one for sure. But
Yeah.
you guys won as well because I think it was a proper Dakar. So I'm not sure if it's nice or not nice. So, but yeah, at the end we did it.
Yeah, it just seems like it's so gnarly, and you're right. Like it's a theme that you guys have all been talking about, Seth. I mean, they're just throwing more and more at you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I kept saying this year, and Dennis and I both, it was like we didn't know when we'd catch a break. I mean, thankfully, like the bikers are on a way different level than we are, but thankfully the bikers got a break. But we were definitely hoping that we got a break the same day they did. And when I woke up and saw the bike race got canceled, but the car race is still going, I was like, oh man, this is going to be rough. But they threw everything. They threw the kitchen sink at us this year. But I honestly, I enjoyed it. It made for a fun rally and a lot of memorable moments. And hopefully next year's kind of the same. So, I mean, I think with me being younger, well, it definitely helps me out a lot mentally and physically. Definitely didn't feel too tired after the race, thankfully, but yeah.
You didn't?
It
cost me 1 week. It cost me 1 week.
Yeah, so Dennis was pretty tired. Hey, but you guys will probably both agree with this statement is like everybody always says, oh, the track's getting rougher or the terrain's gnarly or whatever. I'm like, dude, throw at me the gnarliest, baddest race course ever, and I will love it even more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely fun, obviously, going on, you know, those days that are smooth. You kind of get a little bit of a break, but for me, the best days and the best days for us results-wise is when we put all day prayer. For some reason, like those days that it's kind of easier to drive, I'm a lot slower. I lose the focus because I kind of gag a little bit and not fly off a 200-foot and then days where it's like that, it definitely turns up because we definitely lock in a little bit harder because you have to focus. So I'm definitely the same. Whatever you throw at me, throw at me.
Yeah, it keeps your ADD intact, right? Like, hey, Fried Scotty said, birria tacos. That mean you're going to show Dennis where to get some really, really bombed food this when he's out here in America, or what?
I would love to.
Oh, yeah.
Love to.
I'm going to get the best tacos.
I'm really excited, I have to say. I mean, first ever time in the US and especially racing so many stories from Seth and all the guys around. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's great to be here.
Hey, we had a question come in that was asking, this is the first year that you guys were able to have a windshield, and it's from RIP K-Mom, Ripka Mom.
Yeah, this year, I was so thankful to have a windshield. The past couple of years, we didn't have a windshield, and that was brutal. And then going to the weather that we did this year, it was just like, thank God we had the windshield. It was soaking wet every day. It would have been really rough, but I'm glad. I mean, that one day that we shattered the windshield, I unfortunately couldn't see for the last 150 kilometers, which kind of sucked. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed that windshield.
Yeah, dude, I can only imagine how much that came in clutch. Ripka David said he wants to get crab legs. I'm assuming that's for Dennis.
You're for sure going to get Dennis some crab legs.
Dude, you're already on track to have a fantastic time here in the United States, dude. This is going to be awesome.
I hope so.
All right, so what's the plan? Give me a little rundown of what you guys are going to do over the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, so Dennis will be here for the next
1 week, yeah.
Just about a week. Yeah, we're going to head out to
exactly.
campers on Thursday. Going to get fitted in the car. The car's actually in Marietta right now, right by my house, which is pretty cool. So going to go over there where it's getting dropped off and worked on to kind of go get feed it. Whoa. Wow. Brain fart there. Fit in the seats, make sure we're all good there. And then, yeah, going to go pre-run Thursday, Friday, qualify Saturday, race Sunday, and then Dennis has got a girlfriend, so he's got to get a flight home on Monday.
His birthday on Tuesday, so it's a very important meeting.
Yeah, you can't be slacking on that. You better get back, dude. There better not be any flight delays or anything for that bad boy.
And also there's Abu Dhabi just around the corner, so yeah, not too many time.
Are you looking forward to being out here, though, man? Because that's a pretty cool opportunity.
No, for sure. I'm looking forward to the race in America. I mean, we are doing something more by the year. But for sure, I like the stories from Seth all the time. What he told me, this and here are big bumps and fast tracks, and we can push somebody, which is in the FIA race not allowed.
So you're gonna show him nerfing, Seth? Is that what you're gonna do?
So we've gotten close to cars a couple times. He got a little nervous. We don't really feel off people. I'm making it a point. I don't ever hit people, but I'm making it a point to throw some nerf parts.
Dude, that's gonna be hilarious to see what Dennis says. He's gonna be like, "No, okay, fine, I get it."
But anyway, guys, I need to look for my luggage, so I will shut down from my side at least.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Dennis. We really appreciate it. We'll see you out at KOH, man.
Thanks for having me. See you soon, yeah? Have a good... Yeah, see you in a bit.
Hey, well, there you go, Seth. Did we make your job any easier when picking up your person from the airport?
Yeah, I've been rolling around in circles trying to get a hold of the guy, and turns out he's still on the plane. So, I mean, that's easier. Now you can find a parking spot.
Dude, that's hilarious, man. The stuff we do on the Dirt Life show. Hey, I want to thank you for coming on too. I know you're a busy guy. I'm really stoked that you're doing all that stuff at King of the Hammers. I think it's going to be pretty cool to see you out there doing even more racing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love
It sounds like we got kind of a bad connection, dude. Hey, I know you want to thank all your sponsors, so I'll let everybody know when they come on the show. I really appreciate you coming on, dude. We'll see you out at KOH.
Sounds good, man.
All right, we'll see you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, man. Okay, so we're going to try and see if we can get Scott Abraham on here, the owner and team principal over at Redbull Can-Am Factory Racing Team. He sets up such a good program for all of these drivers to have a success rate out at Dakar. So let's see if we can get him lined up and on the show with us. If you are watching, there you go. Scott Abraham, what's up, dude? How are you?
Very well, and you?
We're doing good, man. I know that you just had a flight as well. I don't know if you were watching, but one of your co-drivers or navigators, Dennis Zenz, just got off his plane as well. So I appreciate you taking the time with us. Let me give you a proper intro. So Scott Abraham has, 19 Dakars to date. He's been to 19 Dakar rallies. So that's a point that we want to talk about. And he's now the team principal or the owner of Can-Am South Racing Team, which is now the Redbull Factory Can-Am team. Man, the development of the program and what you've done has been pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a surprise to be, in the past 6 years it went from a 2-car operation, and this Dakar we went with 26 cars. It all started down in Brazil, actually, where I met a guy called Bob Lumley, who was at that time the VP for Can-Am. And from there it just grew.
Yeah, well, you make it sound like so easy and humble, but it takes a lot of work to get to the point that it is now. And I, as an off-road enthusiast, I really appreciate the work that you guys put in, because you guys are excelling the sport and you guys are pushing the boundaries and pushing the limits on stuff that is actually achievable. Now you've won a bunch of races now in the side-by-side category. It's just really, really cool to see, man. So I'm appreciative of it. I'm going to bring on one of your guys' team sponsors, the guys over at Motul. The Motul USA guys want to join. Darwin actually went out and participated in his first Dakar rally. So you got 18 on him. But Darwin, what's up, man? How are you?
How's it going, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great, man. So Motul is a big supporter of the Red Bull Factory Can-Am Racing Team. It's pretty cool to see you guys team up, and there's a big difference in the two faces on the screen. Darwin has been to Dakar for 3 days, pushing it 3 days, and Scott has been to 19 Dakars, man. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I jumped on and heard you say, Scott, you'd done it, this was your 20th, I was, in total awe, to be honest with you. Because, I mean, just being there the 3 days was such a surreal experience for myself, being the first time,
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to have raced Dakar. My first one was in 2003, so I've got one more to go until my 20th. So 2024 should be number 20. But I raced Africa, and then when we went to South America from 2009 onwards, and then now in Saudi Arabia. So the race is something special. It's definitely part of me. The experiences we have. I think that's the beauty of any form of off-road racing. It doesn't matter if you're in Baja or in South America. You get to see places which are not just airports and not just cities. And I think that you meet wonderful people in little towns, and those are the experiences which make it so special.
Yeah, it is really cool. What's been the biggest difference? Obviously, you've raced Dakar too, Scott. But what's been the biggest difference, I guess, aside from the progression, like with UTVs coming out and stuff, over those 19 years, man? Because to us in the United States, like, Dakar's on the map now, but for you, you've got much more heritage with it.
Well, I think, we got to look back. Dakar started to get proper traction in the US about 4 or 5 years ago. I think it also came a lot with the UTVs because it was a category which people could relate to. You saw Can-Am or you saw Polaris when the Matlocks raced.
Yep.
So this is what's really exciting is that you're bringing manufacturers across. Obviously, Casey Curry won Dakar with us in 2020. And then obviously before that, guys like Robbie Gordon and obviously all the motorbike guys have been involved, but it was always, sort of like, what is this race? And I think now it's become a lot more mainstream. We've seen that, especially from the media, 28% of earned media value and global viewership is from North America. So that's definitely growing. That grew from 9% in 2020. So it's been a big growth. And I think we're really starting to get some traction now. I think it's also going to be exciting. The Sonora Rally is now part of the World Championship. So that's happening the end of April. So I think for the first time, the North American market will finally get to see not only the UTVs, but also the motorbike guys and the T1 race cars, the T1 Pluses, the Toyotas, the Audis. You'll get to see them in North America for the first time. So I think it's been a long time coming. There's a lot of work. Darren Skilton put a huge amount of work in. He's raced Dakar himself. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future.
I think it's really cool, man. And even just to go like, we'll kind of step down granularly and understand like each individual team has the logistical portions that they have to work on, right? So there's a lot of setup, and I don't remember who it was. I think it was Skyler House that was just talking to us about even just on the dirt bike side of things. You're basically planning a whole year in advance. I mean, like, do you have to talk with for instance, your oil partner, your wheel partner, to get these things prepared for next year already, or like how do those things work? Because to me, that is one of the most phenomenal portions of the race.
Well, I think specifically, I mean, if you just look at Motul, I mean, they always pull their hair out a little bit because it's, when you're running it for 26 vehicles, and also it's not just Dakar. We run 25 events in a year. That's around the globe, including obviously now our North America program, which is something exciting. It's a new challenge for us. We still got a lot of work to do there, starting from scratch last year. So. But yeah, Dakar starts the day Dakar finishes. If we look at, for example, with Can-Am, we put our parts forecasting in the end of February to basically be able to meet the supply chain requirements. It's a huge logistical challenge. It's 193 people who we move day to day. 89 vehicles in total, from race cars to motorhomes to service vehicles, trucks, semi-trailers, obviously the expendables like Seth mentioned. And AJ, and then from there, then it goes. It's the thousands of liters or gallons of oil. It's the 1,300 tires. It's the 800 wheels which we take to Dakar. So the operation is huge. And then the cups of coffee. As AJ touched on, it's 10,000. We have 10,800 Nespresso capsules which we take to Dakar, and that's all got to be done beforehand because whatever you've got with you, you've got to take with.
Dude, that is so wild. Like, Darwin, are you listening to this? I mean, like, he's talking about thousands and thousands of, tires and wheel, all of these different things. Can you imagine, just like he said, the cups of coffee, the amount of, like, chicken and corn? I mean, like, good God, dude, this is insanely cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was one thing that kind of stood out for me being my first time. And we went to the bivouac or whatnot. We had a trailer specifically designated to just wheels and tires, and I'm not kidding you, the entire trailer was just full of tires for all the vehicles. Just seeing it on kind of the big scale that it has and everything else was truly impressive. And you guys touched on it earlier, like the growing interest here in North America. I can definitely speak to that myself because, prior to even my days here at Motul, I mean, I didn't really follow it too heavily, and then I think Ricky's kind of being the first American to win the bike category and such, really put it on the map. And then obviously with Austin and Seth and whatnot, the growing interest there has really kind of catapulted the side-by-side market as well.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? And then so I want to get the same question to both of you guys. With Scott with his 19 years of Dakar experience, and Darwin with your, we'll call it 3 days of Dakar experience. I want to throw the same question to both of you guys. What are some of the most notable items that you remembered from this year's Dakar? Scott, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think it's, there's a few of them. I mean, if I look specifically at within our team, Christina and Chileko stuck in the river. That was, we touched on that in the flash flood, that it was extreme. And then obviously, heartbreak for Rockers 30 kilometers from the finish. I think those are the things which it makes you want to go back and do it again, but it's also hard at the time that it happens. But it's also, for me, the goal is always to bring everybody in the team home safely. And I think we can't forget that as a team owner, I have an obligation to my team who fight day and night in the toughest conditions we've seen in Saudi Arabia, for sure. And that's the thing for me, is those are the experiences. There's just so many of them during the race that are just like these little memories, and you really need time after the race to decompress, and they just like pop up.
Yep.
It's not always these bad things or good things. It's just like, oh, did that really happen?
Yeah, totally. And then so like he says it like it's an easy thing, right, Darwin? And he's so humble when he says it. But I was looking through some of their media package, and you could see some of the images that were captured, and the amount that Scott cares about his team, and the team cares about Scott and everybody else. I mean, it's phenomenal, and that's what wins races, right? I mean, people say teamwork makes a dream work, and if that's a cliche statement, then whatever. But like, it really does because they all have the same amount of passion, and they want to get those vehicles across the finish line as quickly and as safely as possible. So it's pretty amazing to have such a great leader like Scott.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think you'd have as many people finish if it wasn't such a cohesive kind of group as a team. Everyone's helping everybody. I recall on that, I think it was stage 4 or 5. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. But the highly popularized river that almost wiped out a few competitors. And seeing the trash trucks come and stop and pull the guys out and everything, it was a collective group effort to make sure everyone was, most importantly. That was one thing that really stood out to me. And then I think just, being a dirt bike guy myself, one thing that kind of highlighted this year's Dakar was just how close the racing action was on all segments, whether it was the trucks, whether it was the T3 lightweight prototypes, all that stuff. I mean, the last day, I think the dirt bike category came down to like 28 seconds was like the gap, if I recall, between Benavides and Toby Price. And then having 9 different winners, I think it was, in the first 9 stages on the bike category was unprecedented.
Dude, it's so insane, but it's super cool to see, right? Scott, is that a product of the track layout, or is that just a product of the elements? I mean, what usually lends itself to that? Because to me, that's unheard of. Just a few seconds at the last stage. It's wild.
Yeah, I think specifically on the UTV side is that it's over the past years, it's not uncommon because there's 2 different categories. It's called T3, which is call it prototype vehicles, where the OT3s, where we run against Yamaha. And then you have the T4, which is more like a showroom modified production, is what the title of the category is. But that's running all original drivetrain, axles, diffs, uprights. So those are all OEM parts, and then it's very, very evenly matched because the regulations don't allow. There's not really a way for big money to come in and dominate. Obviously, as a team, it's about having that depth behind it, having the infrastructure, having the parts, and obviously it's all those little pieces of the puzzle that come together. And then you've got to have the drivers, and you can't forget the co-drivers. I think this is a huge thing on Dakar, is that you can be the fastest driver in the world, but if you miss one waypoint, it can be 15 minutes to 2 hours. So you can drive the wheels of the car and win the stage by 3 minutes, but you can get lost for a huge amount of time. So it's really about the team.
How do you package? How do you put those packages together to get the engineers and the drivers and everybody together? Because that's got to be a pretty good amount of work to be able to find all those top level guys.
I think it starts, we're very fortunate to Canon delivers us a really, really good UTV off the production line, and then together with the team at BRP Racing, and then also our engineers who have been with us for a long time, and also looking for new and young talent. I think that's really, really important. We're all getting older every day, but there's also still a lot of young, and I call them kids. They might get upset with me, but there's a lot of young kids who are looking for a foot up and getting into the sport. And I look back at my days. I raced in South Africa, and then it was the case. Well, it was time to make the decision. Was I going to try and be a race car driver, or would I go and look and try have a job? And then I was very fortunate to get a job with, at that stage, X-Raid with BMW, then with Mini, and now they still run the Mini program. They've taken over Yamaha. And I got a chance, 20 years ago, someone took a chance on me, and I went from South Africa to Germany, and 20 years later, I'm sitting here talking about Dakar,
It's so cool to hear, man. I would like to see if we can dig deeper into your story. Maybe one of these days we'll set up when you have a little bit more time, not at KOH and stuff, to do a little bit of background on you, Scott. I think it would be cool to sit down and just talk about old racing memories and stuff like that. But, hearing him talk about all that stuff, Darwin, I kind of want to know, I don't know if you do, but like what the difference is between those first Dakars compared to what it is now. And the reason I want to do it is because it's kind of a 2-part question, like he said, with the kids. because I have people walk up to me all the time now, 10 years old, 15 years old, and they know what Dakar is. Back 10 years ago, nobody even knew what it was in the United States. So now these kids are looking up to guys like Seth Quintero, who in their mind is a veteran. And so, like, it's a completely different world, right? Because now you have all of these kids getting funneled in, but it was massively different back then.
Yeah, that was honestly one thing that kind of came up earlier. Is I'd like to kind of understand the differences, from the early days of South Africa and all that stuff in comparison to now. Kind of the differences in the terrain, obviously, how much Dakar itself has grown, like all that stuff. I mean, obviously, Motool's a huge proponent of the involvement over the last 10 years or whatever it's been. But I'd be curious on the change, just from place to place, and kind of how that's transpired.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's almost a show in itself. That I'm very fortunate to also work with people who have a 30 Dakars experience, and I think that's it. Is when I was in Africa, my first Dakar was a 21-day Dakar. It was you drove across the borders from Morocco to Mauritania. You did 1,000 miles off road in a day in the service trucks. So this was really like it was a completely different world, and a shower was a luxury, and if you did get it, it was most of the time a bucket of cold water. So I think a lot's changed. And then obviously going to South America was Argentina, the first Dakar. 3 million people in the streets of Buenos Aires driving 700 kilometers, and just people parked on the side of the road having barbecues and just happy to see you. So that was a phenomenal experience. And we went and we also raced in Peru at the highest, at the highest city in the world. So 15,000 feet was rest day. So the experiences are vast. And then you're going to a country like Saudi Arabia, which for many years was closed to the world. And now you come back and you're allowed to go and experience. And in the past 3 years, which we've been racing there, we're actually racing again this weekend in Saudi. It's definitely an amazing country in terms of how things are changing. You see it year to year change. So it is constantly changing. Obviously, technology's changed to go with it. So yeah.
Yeah, speaking of that technology portion, we had actually a couple of comments come in. One of the comments that came in was, let me see here who it was from, Nasser Al-Jamhan, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyways, what about competitors like Polaris and Yamaha? You said that Yamaha was actually quite a bit of competition this year.
Yeah, for sure, and we're really happy to have it. So Yamaha's come with an official program. It's actually run by X-Raid, who are also the team behind, they also part of the Q Motorsport team, which run the Audi program. So, it's been a while coming. Obviously, previously the Red Bull guys were running the OT3, which was a full prototype. They finished third this year as well. So we're seeing a lot of competition. Also, Mitch Guthrie was in a new prototype vehicle this year. So yeah, there is challenge, and we're really happy to say that Polaris is coming next year to race us in T4. So I think we'll probably see a lot more American drivers. We've heard a lot of stories and rumors about what's possibly going over here, which they would like to extend maybe by 2024, 25. And I think it showcases that there's value there, and that value is driven by huge marketing returns, huge media. You touched on it a little bit with AJ.
Yep.
But it's you got to put it in the league of the Daytona 500, the Indy 500. But it's even bigger than that. You've got 14 back-to-back days of the global sports world. It's the first big event of the year, and they're glued to it.
It is really cool, man. Yeah, just the growth. I mean, like even talking about the 19, 20 years ago and stuff like that, it's crazy. And so speaking of the difference in vehicles, we actually had a question come in that I don't know how you pronounce it. Flick asked, what was the focus of the press conference on press day in Saudi? Looks like South Racing was introducing a concept car.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, we never sort of stay still. Other than our 25 events in a year, we've also got to look, to the longer future. And I think this is touching on something which, we've got to start looking at sustainability in our sport. There's a lot of pressure to look at what we can do. So we've come up with a concept called the Future Vision concept. It's a concept vehicle which is sort of our vision of what a UTV could look like 10 years out. It's going to come to life a lot earlier than that. We're obviously working with our existing partners to really focus on that, and also with Motul, they've also had to change the way their brand looks at things, and they are developing new products, battery cooling fluids, and it's also very important to follow that. And the same with like Sparko, they've come up with a whole new series of lower emission suits, and this is not just greenwashing. This is actually something which we're trying to put in, something which is tangible. And at the same time, BRP as a brand are looking by 2030 to reduce the manufacturing carbon footprint. They'll have electric or alternative fueled vehicles in the product range. It's not that the internal combustion engine is going to go anywhere soon, but at the same time, we're also looking at e-fuels and sustainable fuels. So those are fuels where we reduce emissions by. And it's just a little bit, it's bit by bit that we're going to start chipping away at this. And it's not a quick fix. It's a really long-term project. And it's also a way to be sure, together with another program we launched, which is called Can-Am Next, which is looking for the next generation, not only of drivers and co-drivers, but also the whole technical team and logistics team, marketers, everybody to go behind the team. And that's going to be built up over the next year. So we'll see a lot more of that. I think the Scramble series where Can-Am has partnered this year will start to be a good basis where we're going to start looking for new talent to come through. And also, there's going to be the next AJ Jones and Seth Quintero. They're just maybe 14 or 15 years old at the moment.
Dude, yeah, and it's so cool to hear that, because that's just not growth of an industry, it's growth of human beings. It's all kinds of cool stuff. But like Darwin, what he's talking about, racing breeds innovation, right? I mean, it's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of our mantra, right? Is we use platforms such as MotoGP and Dakar and Isle of Man, which I was just watching some highlights of that today. Like, we use these platforms and these professionals and such to kind of speak to the pedigree over all of our products, because obviously if they work for AJ and for Seth and for Ricky and guys like that, obviously on the consumer level they'll be able to withstand any conditions really that you throw at it. So we kind of pride ourselves in being involved on some of these more endurance races. I just got back from Rolex 24 yesterday, and kind of witnessing that on the four-wheel side was such a spectacle. So we're really kind of leveraging our involvement on those levels really kind of speaks to just the overall improvements of our products.
Yeah, well, and it benefits everybody too, because the stuff that happened at Rolex is going to benefit the Dakar team and vice versa. Like, it's so cool to see, man. I love that motorsports just works all together. So Darwin, this was your first Dakar. What did you think? Like, what was the one of the biggest takeaways that you had? Was it the camels, traffic? What was it?
Man, I've told honestly so many stories with people in the office and friends and family and so on and so forth. Like, I'd like to think I've lived a pretty adventurous life. I mean, going to Isle of Man last year with Motul was a highlight, obviously, and witnessing that firsthand. But going to Dakar was just a completely unorthodox experience in so many ways. Just all the different stories that I was able to kind of come across, the people I met, obviously on the racing element, and Motul having such a huge presence on that level, it was unbelievable. Like, just we talked about it earlier with the involvement and kind of how everyone is just passionate, beyond passionate, and comes together to kind of make sure most importantly everyone's safe and finishes, but also just kind of pushing the boundaries, and that competitiveness kind of takes over. So.
Well, I think the main thing that you touched on right there is the passion, right? Like, Scott has an insane amount of passion. It's clear because he's been doing this for such a good portion of his life. Scott, when you see the success that your team has had, what can you equate that to? Because that's it's teamwork, but it's led by a great leader too, right? And when you see all of those things, you have to be like a proud father.
Yeah, for sure, you definitely are proud. I mean, I'm as a person, I'm not someone who's going to jump it up and down and do backflips. It's more a case, okay, we've won this, and I'm already like analyzing what we could do better. But it goes down to the team. It's to the talented men and women who've got my back basically, and you've got to have their back too. And I think this is what it's about. They will get in there and they'll fight with you, no matter what Dakar throws at them or other events. And I mean, we've got to. when I say we've got a dedicated, when you got 193 people, you've got 4 guys who are just doing tires. Those guys probably have the heaviest job on Dakar. Then you've got the 5 people who cook for everybody. Then you've got 7 logistics people. You've got people who just manage the relationship with ASO. If you look and you just have to try and imagine doing the entries for 193 people, that's months of work. So, and it's every little person's role, which is so important. But again, it's also, you got to have that vision. You've got to have great partners on board, and I've been very fortunate to have them partners who support us. And I think they've also seen that the way we do things is a little bit different. We're not a company who goes and says, oh, well, we're going to go start a project, we would like some support. We do it, and then we go ask for it. And most of the time, that's how we've grown. And I think we've also grown the industry. I think it's also, we built 65 Can-Ams or Dakar spec Can-Ams a year.
Oof.
So since we started the program, we built 175 vehicles, and I think this year we're on target to do that. And I think that's also grown the sport in Europe. It's also grown it internationally. We've got cars around the world, and that's at Dakar. We didn't only support our team; we supported the 55 vehicles which were built by us at the event, and we also had a semi which Can-Am has, where they have a full parts service for all the Can-Am drivers or owners at Dakar. So, you ask what it takes. It's just a continuous adding value wherever you can, but also like taking the knocks and getting back up. And I think that's the most important thing, is that we had curveballs thrown at us at Dakar. We had to come back. We had to fight, and then we were very fortunate to have won our 6th consecutive Dakar with Can-Am.
Yep, and it did. Yeah, like you mentioned, it doesn't come easy, right? It's a lot of work to get to that point. But that's one of the things that I appreciate, and I appreciate you taking just the small amount of time out of your day and you being on a plane. You're coming to America, and you're doing the same basic thing, and you're taking the time to talk with us. You're going to be pushing in to the American racing scene. I think it's fantastic, Darwin. You got to be excited for that.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, just the overall involvement and growth of the South Racing team, the Can-Am winning, like you said, six in a row is something that ultimately speaks to our products and the longevity of them and so on and so forth. So definitely looking forward to King of the Hammers, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, so what's the plan then, Scott? Can you give me a little bit of a breakdown the next couple of weeks for you, and then maybe towards the end of the year?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for us, it was also Motul, who was one of the, let's call it, the instigators in this, and some of our other partners who were looking. They were like, "Hey guys, you got to come and do this in the States." So last year we started our North America program from scratch. We had to go back and learn everything. We might have won Dakar, but it doesn't mean anything in Baja. So we started in Vegas to Reno last year. We then did the 400, our first DNF in 5 years of racing. So we took it a bit personally, and then we finished the 1,000. So I think for us, it was getting a lot of experience last year. And now this year, we've got a full program with the Redbull Off-Road the USA Junior team, with obviously BF Goodrich Model KMC behind that program, and obviously Red Bull. And it's going to be an interesting one. We're running the King of the Hammers Desert Race. We're not ready for the rocks yet, and Can-Am's got a great bunch of drivers who have done phenomenal work there, and it's about complementing what Can-Am does in North America, not cannibalizing it. And then we got Mint 400. After the Mint, we'll run the Baja 500, and then Vegas to Reno again. So quite a nice North America program, as well as the drivers Seth and AJ will be at the Red Bull Scramble Series as well. And then on top of that, we've got the World Championship rounds, which literally 2 weeks after King of the Hammers, we're in Abu Dhabi. A week later, we're in the Mint. And then we come to Sonora, and then we have other races in Argentina, Morocco, before going back to Dakar. So a lot of things happening, but exciting to be in the U.S.
Yeah, well, first of all, kudos to you. But Darwin, all I heard there was he's never going to sleep.
Yeah, honestly, that schedule that's a pretty rigorous travel schedule. You're gonna rack up those sky miles and hotel points, I guess.
But one thing I do have to say is just like kudos to you, Scott, for actually putting in all that effort, because that's what pushes an industry forward, right? Is people that are so passionate about it, and clearly you were passionate about it because you started in Dakar and you've worked your way to this point. But one of the things that I would like to focus on is when you said that you're doing the like the next generation drivers. What did you call the program again?
So Can-Am Next is something which, so it's the next generation of drivers, but it's also, because it's difficult to, in the US, it's easier to race. I've got to say, your barrier to entry, you can go as a 16-year-old kid, you can get in, or even earlier, you can get into a Can-Am or a Polaris or any type brand of UTV and you can go racing. Or you could even get in a trophy truck if you want, Whereas in Europe, you've got to wait till 18 years old. And, we've identified that we've got to keep this progression going. So for us, and together with our partners, it's very important that we want to start creating this path that we can identify young drivers from around the world, and obviously the co-drivers. And that's going to basically create that progression where we can go through the T4 modified production category, go up into the prototype UTV category. Hopefully the best of the best will then get a ride in the T1 Pluses in the world of Toyota and Audi and Mini and ProDrive. And I think that's, if people see the ability to move up, that's great. And then I think at the same time, a brand like Can-Am continuously innovating and bringing new product to market. It's also, we know globally finding great talent is becoming more and more difficult, so it's time to build it. So we're looking at ways that we can also work with certain programs. Motul has a great charity program where they work with, let's say, problem kids like I was maybe a little bit, where they develop them into specialist mechanics. So there's some programs in France where they develop them to vintage car mechanics, race mechanics, bike mechanics. Also in Burkina Faso, they have a charity called Moto Corazon, where they actually work and they actually train kids to become mechanics. So
that's so cool.
There's a lot which we can do, and this is something taking a page out of Motul's book, and this is going to tie into where we're going with Future Vision. So it's like, where do we see this industry? So Future Vision might be a cool looking car, but it's a lot more, and this is how we tie all these programs in together.
Man, I think it's so great. And Darwin, like when I hear all that stuff, clearly there's a business side to it. But for our audience that may not understand the business side, it's very simple. They have an opportunity that's going to exist in the future to be a part of a fantastic team with potentially new vehicles and potentially new development programs. It's so cool to see that off-road is being built by guys like Scott for all of the people that are enthusiasts and racers, because we get questions daily. How do I get into off-road racing? My son is a fantastic driver. I want him to get known. Like all of these crazy things, and now we're putting a funnel together where they can fit.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately gives them the platform to, kind of take that passion and potentially turn it into a potential career, such as Scott's done, such as AJ's done, and these other guys. I mean, it's something that I guess is kind of a play from stick and ball sports, but to see it kind of transition over to motorsports and specifically these platforms is really neat.
Yeah, man. I kudos to both of you guys. Darwin, I know you want to get back to Dakar. I want to go over there one of these days. Scott, man, you've got a lot of experience over there. I'll let you guys go because I know you guys are busy. We got a lot of stuff to get prepared for at King of the Hammers. Scott, I would like to have you on the show one day, man. Maybe we'll go do a little bit backstory, story time with Scott one of these days. I think it would be cool.
Yeah, I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, it would be pretty sweet, man. Well, first and foremost, good luck in all the future endeavors, and we'll see. I don't know, Darwin, if you're going to KOH, but I know, Scott, I'll see you out there, and Darwin, I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Scott, before you hang up, if you'd like to thank anybody, you're more than welcome to now.
No, I mean, I think we're super fortunate to work with so many great partners, and I mean, obviously, it's without those partners, whether it's Motul with the oils, BF Goodrich, KMC, on the Redbull program, and obviously Red Bull, Can-Am, they've been backing us up on this for a long time. And then, I mean, obviously we've also run our full custom operations, and most importantly, the team who are working around the world at the moment in Saudi Arabia and in the US, as well as in Portugal at the moment. So thanks to all of them.
Yeah, man. Well, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I appreciate everything that you guys as a brand Motul is doing, and Scott, that you're doing to push everything forward. I get really excited about off-road when I have these conversations. So thank you guys very much, and we'll see you at the races.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Man, so it's just so cool to me. I love having conversations like this. I know that we talked a little bit deep about some of the business stuff. Scott is on the forefront of that, and I appreciate all the stuff that he is doing. It just means the world to me as an off-road enthusiast to see that these things are progressing and they're moving our industry forward. So we really appreciate all of our sponsors as well. The guys over at KMC Wheels, thank you, Ryan Guidus, for being a part of the show tonight. Thanks to Darwin from Motul, everybody over there. Thanks to Chris and everybody at Maxxis Tires. We're going to see him for the Maxxis Jeremy McGrath or the King Ride with the King Day at KOH on Saturday. So if you guys are interested in that, shoot us a DM, see if we can get you guys on board with that ride. Thanks to guys over at Shock Therapy. Thanks to JL Audio, Evolution Power Sports, Zollinger Racing Products, Vision Canopies, and Cryo Heat. But most of all, thank you to you guys for being a part of the show. We really appreciate everything. Like I mentioned on every show, please keep sharing. Let us know what you guys want to hear. Hit us up. We can't be more thankful that you guys are part of the show and just helping it grow, man. It's so cool. So thank you guys very much. We'll see you guys at KOH. Good night.